So I have a 91 2.8 V6 S10 Tahoe. Um, I'm going to explain this the way that I couldn't find anyone to explain it when I was watching YouTube. Um, to bleed the clutch slave master cylinder, bleed them the whole system, so that you don't have to worry about being stuck for 2 days like I was. You have to have patience, first of all. And if you replace the master cylinder, replace the slave cylinder. If you replace the slave cylinder, replace the master cylinder, just to be safe, because chances are one of the other ones is going to go out in a few months or a few years, and you're going to have to deal with the same crap. I pulled my whole system out, the reservoir, the master cylinder, the slave cylinder. When you pull them out, get a table or something that you can mount a board to, like I did. I mounted the reservoir here, and I hung the master cylinder under it so that the hose was from here to here, and the slave cylinder hung at the bottom. And while I was at the base of the line with the slave cylinder, I compressed the pin and had someone watch the reservoir. I compressed the pin slowly and just had them to say bubbles until eventually there were no more bubbles. And it took at least 45 minutes, maybe an hour. It takes a little while, but you just press it slowly until, and you got to make sure you completely compress it until it won't go, the pin won't go into the slave cylinder anymore. And once you get the air from the slave cylinder through the line and from the master cylinder to the reservoir, pressing that pin into the slave cylinder should push the air through the whole line, through the master cylinder to the reservoir. And you have to make sure that when you're holding the slave cylinder, that you keep the bleeder screw and where the line is attached to the slave cylinder above the pin, so your hand should be under the slave cylinder. So you should be pressing the pin up, because then the line and everything is above and the bubbles can go up and out. You just have to do that for like 30-40 minutes. Have somebody watch for bubbles until eventually there'll be no more bubbles. If the fluid in the reservoir goes down or squirts out, put more fluid in it. You're going to waste fluid unless you run a hose to like back into the brake fluid container. But you're going to have your reservoir full so that when the bubbles come out, the fluid can go in and replace where the air was. Important, keep the reservoir above the master cylinder and keep the slave cylinder at the bottom at all cost. When you take your reservoir off after all the bubbles are out, just hold the reservoir and let the slave and master cylinder dangle under it, and drop it back down through the engine bay to the transmission, and never let the line from the slave cylinder get above the master cylinder. Never let the line get from the master cylinder above the reservoir, or the bubbles are air is just going to go back in and back up into your system. Your slave cylinder should go down first, attach it to the transmission, attach the master cylinder to the firewall, and attach your reservoir back to the firewall. And when you get in your truck and you press the clutch, if it's hard at the top, all the air is out. If it's not hard at the top, you probably have air in the master cylinder. Just take the reservoir cap off, put fluid in it, press it slowly. If bubbles come out, that means that you're feeding fluid into the master cylinder. Once your clutch is hard, put the cap back on, start your truck, and you should be good. So, recap. Pull everything out, keep it attached together. Reservoir needs to always stay above the master cylinder. The master cylinder needs to stay above the slave cylinder. Attach your reservoir to something and let everything else dangle under it. Make sure that the pin in the slave cylinder is the lowest point and keep pressing it for like 30-40 minutes, and somebody can watch for bubbles. When the bubbles stop, put the cap back on the reservoir, put everything back in the truck. Make sure that everything is dangling under the reservoir as you put it in. Attach everything back and you should be good. That's what worked for me. I hope it works for you. Like and subscribe. Hope that helps. Thanks.